Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be breaking down how I passed the Part 107 exam, what I used to study, what I struggled with, and how you can pass your exam on the first try. And if you're planning to fly your drone commercially to make money, this is the test you're going to have to pass to go ahead and do that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, y'all, so why did I decide to take the Part 107 exam? Well, I wanted to be up to date on laws and regulations. I also wanted to be informed about safety hazards and, airspace and all that. If I want to make money in the future with a drone or something, you're gonna need your license for that. Also, uploading videos with drone footage. If you start making money on YouTube, you're gonna need your license for that as well. All right, now what did I use to study? I did not pay for any courses. I only bought one book off of Amazon, and it is the 2024 Remote Pilot Test Prep book. This book came in handy. It tells you everything you need to know about airspace, weather, METARs, sectional charts, regulations, everything. This book is fantastic. Again, I took the test, I think, in the fall of 2024. I'll go ahead and leave a link down below to where you can get the updated copy of this book. Highly recommend this. Another great free resource you can use is Mr. Mig's Classroom on YouTube. It's free. He has a bunch of videos on flying drones, on the Part 107 test. Like, he goes over every single section that you're going to be needing. Another free resource that I used a lot was the King's Remote Pilot Test Prep. I'll go ahead and put a link down below to that. I was taking those practice tests until I was passing it with like 80 to 90% passing rate. And again, I did not want to fork over hundreds of dollars for test prep. On top of the $175 you need to pay for the exam, I just did not want it to be a big expense. So how did my studying look like? Well, I have a full-time job, but luckily I get to work from home. On my downtime, I was always reading in the book. I was taking practice tests, a couple of times during the day, like at lunch. I was even reading my test prep, when I'm laying down in bed at night, taking practice tests just until I got comfortable with the material. I believe I studied for about 2 months. 2 months, I think if you study, for like an hour, 2 hours a day, you should be really good to go. You shouldn't have any problems passing the test on your first try. So what were the hardest topics for me? Well, the hardest topics that I just struggled with the most was airports and airplanes and weather. Weather, you're gonna need to know a lot about like the different types of clouds, wind, humidity, and all of that stuff. The airports, you're gonna need to know about the airport signs, all the lanes that the airplanes use on the runway and stuff. You're gonna learn a lot about airplanes and stuff that has nothing to do with flying a drone, which really was annoying to learn. So just take the time to study all you can about airplanes, airports, and weather. All right, so the day has arrived on test day. I arrived to the testing facility about like an hour early, so I just crammed as much information as I could. I brought my exam test prep book with me. I was just going through all the topics that I just was still kind of struggling with or just wasn't sure about, just to kind of like refresh my memory. When you get to the testing center, you can't have anything on you. You have to leave everything inside of a locker, and then you're gonna be walked into the testing room. It's gonna be on a computer. The test is fully electronic. You have 60 questions, 2 hours to take the test. I took about an hour and a half just to take the whole test. I finished it pretty fast the first time, but like the first 5 questions, I was just stumped, man. It's just a horrible feeling is when you get to a test and like the first 5 questions you just don't even know the answer to. So I just answered them to the best of my knowledge, and I moved on. So once I completed the test, I went back over the whole test again, and I just kind of just sat there, and I just kind of tried to do my best to recall the information. And luckily, I had some answers wrong in the very beginning, and just kind of clicked in my head, and I marked the right answer, and I just went over every single question again until I was like, yeah, I feel pretty confident in pressing enter. One thing that I'll let y'all know is to don't rush the test. read every single question as careful as you can, because there were some questions that were tricky, you know, like they threw in some questions that tried to trip you up, but you just gotta like stay focused and don't let that happen to you. My score and takeaways: I passed the test with the 87. I felt really confident about my answers that I had submitted on the test. I would say that the test was fair. If you study right, you're gonna have no problem. You know, I was really nervous about walking in, you know, having to pay $175 and then failing the test. You know, just take your time to study, you know, make sure you're comfortable with all the topics before you go take the test, because you don't want to pay all this money and fail it and have to take it all over again. So my biggest tip is to practice on all of the tests that you can. King's practice tests, those are amazing. Repetition really helps. So if you're planning to take the Part 107 exam, let me know. Leave a comment down below. If this video helped you in any way, please, you know, feel free to like and subscribe. Comment any questions and I'll try my best to help you out. All right, guys, good luck.